Hello, this is Teacher Wayne, and I want to talk to you about cinematics. These cutscenes that you see in the beginning of sort of games, or in demos, or in stuff like that. So here we are looking at a demo from the Book of the Dead, and this is using something that's built into Unity called cinematics, timelines, cutscenes. So lots of different ways of calling this process. It's basically where you have the player is not in control, but it gives you like a beautiful sort of overview of what you expect in a game. So this is using the Book of the Dead. This is you can actually download this yourself within Unity. All the assets called Book of the Dead. It's quite a large asset to try to download and use, though I've sort of done it as try to play with it myself. I am using currently an asset from the asset store called Flooded Plains, which is quite a cool one. This is another cool one here. These are all free, by the way, but you can see, look, the incredible textures you can get from this asset pack. But the point of this discussion is to talk about cinematics. So this is just an in-game sort of video. This was created within the game itself. This is not a cinema scene. This is not CGI as such. This is the Unity game engine itself, using something called cinematics. So let's just let me just stop the video and go into my game. So here is my game that I've created using the Unreal 2018 2.11f version of Unity, but what I'm about to show works equally well on the 2018 4.30f, which is the LTS version. Also, it works quite well on the later versions of Unity as well, because I played about with timelines and those as well, and it seems to work. It is slightly different, so it is more for the 2018 this what I'm showing you now. So anyway, this is my game that I've created. Now what I want to do is I just want to press play without a timeline constant. Let me just check I've got no timelines in. I was playing about with it earlier. No, I've got no timeline. Right, I want to press play. So is it going to work? Yes, it is working. So here's the game without timelines. Moving around a bit here. So I'm just looking around this environment. It's quite a pretty little environment, and I've got a little butterfly, and I've got a little voice over me saying go back, just to make it a bit more creepy. Right, and there's the water. So let me just come out to the game. So that's without timelines. Now let's just say you want to start the game, and what you want to do is you want to get it so that the player moves from the beginning, which is here, and he moves sort of like automatically, and he starts and he wanders down here, has a look around, and ends up looking at that butterfly. So we can use something called a timeline sequencing, this cinematics I was talking about, to get the player from there to there, and then once he gets to there, you can get it so it stops playing there, and the player takes over. So let me show you how we do that. You can also use it to I'm going to attach it the timeline to an object. You need to attach it to a game object. I'm going to attach it to my player because the player has the camera on it, but you could create a new object with the camera on, and you can use it like that video I showed earlier where you just have a camera moving through a forest. There's lots of different ways of doing it. You can showcase various elements of your game using this. But I'm going to show you from the point of view of just a player moving from here, ending up just about there where my mouse is, looking at that butterfly. So I'm going to show you the first few steps, and because I've already created a timeline to do this, and then I'll show you my timeline later. Okay, so how do we start this in Unity? First of all, it's really quite straightforward. We go Window, we go Sequencing, and we go Timeline. Then it says here, to begin a new timeline with player, create a directory component and click Timeline and Edit. Now sometimes this tab might be up here. If it is, just literally drag and drop it down here to make it there. I've done it where it's appeared up there. I've added it so it's appeared down here, but it doesn't really matter. So I'm going to click an object, which I already have, which is the player. I'm going to click create now. It's going to ask me to save it somewhere. I'm going to save it in animation. I'm going to call it, it calls it automatically player timeline.playable. I've got one for a butterfly as well, but I'm not ready to show that one yet because it's not quite there. So anyway, I'm going to click start. Now, what we get is we get this pop up here. Now you need your timeline in this window, not that one, because you need to see your scene as well to do the stuff you need to do. Right, okay, so here, this end, you can set it, by default it's in frames, or you can have it in second. I suggest, click wrong button there. If you use frames, they're fairly meaningless sort of numbers here. By the way, I've zoomed. You can, if you press Alt and use your mouse wheel up and down, you can zoom in and out. I've zoomed. What I want to do is I want to set it so it's a 60 seconds here approximately. So I've set it so that you can see 60 seconds on this clock there. So it's a 60-second clip I'm creating. You can create it as long or as short as you want. But I set it to 60 seconds. I'm using mouse wheel and Alt button on the keyboard. And I've changed that to seconds. And I suggest you do that. It just makes life easier. We can, just to show you, I am not going to go into it in this video, because you can add a lot. You can add audio tracks. So you can have a specific theme music going along and playing along with it. You can have a what's known as an activation track, and it turns various things active or not. That's beyond the scope of this video, but there's a lot more to it than this than I'm showing you. In fact, let me just show you this. Timelines. I'm going to include a link of this in my video, but here on the Unity sort of documentation thing, you can literally, it tells you how to use it as within the official Unity documentation. It's a bit wordy, but you can actually go into a lot more depth if you're really curious about how to do it. I suggest you go to the Unity documentation site for further details. I'm just doing an overview in this video, a sort of simple walkthrough, which I think is what you need to get started. And then if you've got any further questions, you can go to the documentation, which is always the best source, because that's Unity itself. It's not somebody's opinion. Right, so here we are. So we've got the player, and we're going to move him along this path to sort of stand at the butterfly. I'm going to start this process, but I've already created it, and I'll show you what I did earlier, because this can take a long time. But let me just show you. So I'm going to click on that. We've got the player. I'm going to select the player. If we look here, can you see I've got this red button here? What you want to do is you click where you want it to start. So we'll start from right from the beginning. Click the red button, and it's recording. Can you see that? So now, because it's to do with this, we're actually going to move this player around. So what I want to do is the player standing still, and we're going to be, for the first 5 seconds, the player, I just want the player just to look around the screen. So let's say 2 seconds in there. I've just clicked 2 seconds. I'm going to get him to rotate. Now there's the Z. Here is the, which one do I want to change? Be careful about what I'm rotating here. It's the Y. Can you see I'm changing the camera angle? I'm changing it so he wants to, we're going to rotate it to there for the first 2 seconds, and then on here for the next 2 seconds I'm going to rotate it to about there. So all he's doing is not moving, just looking left and right. Simple as that. The 5 second mark, we want to rotate it so it's back to normal, and I'm also going to pivot it here. Let me just get the right angle. Pivot it a little bit down, just a little bit. Okay, now so the first 5 seconds we're just looking around. Can you see how I did that? Let's just say for move it to this point here, we want to move the player. So I click on the move tool. I'm clicking that bottom there, that moves the player flat. So I'm going to move him to about there. I'm going to move him down so he lands on the ground, but he's not in the ground there. Let's move forward a little bit in 2 seconds, 2 more seconds after that. I'm going to move him to about there. But this time he's starting to go in the ground, go up there again. I'm going to rotate him a little bit as well. So can you see I'm just doing this step-by-step approach. Just stop recording. There, now if I go back here and go back to scene view, can you see what's happens here? It literally, can you see what I'm doing? I'm just moving it around. You've got a player here as well to do it. This is what it will look like in the game. See how it all builds up? So we've got it there. So he's ended up there. So now let's press play again, record again. Make sure I click it. There, it's recording. So now I want the player, and I want the player to move at the 10-second mark. Ooh. Oh, hang on a minute. I'll double click that. I'll double click to go into the actual animation of the player. What's happened here? I've gone into this thing. Timeline. I went into the wrong window. You've got to be careful about your tabs. So I had an animation tab up. I thought it was a bit confusing, that did. So there we are. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to show you my full video now. I'm just going to come out of this for a second. I'm going to just pause this video for a second while I copy it. So in true Blue Peter fashion, here's one I've already done. I've got a fully working timeline. It's only 35 seconds here, this one though. It's just to give you a quick overview. I'm just going to press play to show you what it does. I am not pressing the mouse and keyboard here. So the timeline is controlling the player character now. And I've just programmed all these moves in. Right, okay, so as you can see, it just takes the player on a journey down the sort of path and ends them up sort of like here, just in front of this little butterfly I've created. So it's a great way to showcase a game, but I could literally create a demo game and have the character move around the entire thing and just have it as a demo. Press play and it just keeps looping forever. If you look here, it's got play on awake there, and you can actually, this is for the player object, it's bound to. Can you see? I made sure, you've got to make sure you tick this box. If you don't press that, it won't loop. And another thing is you can literally get it to loop. So if you're creating a demo, you can create a little loop, I'm pressing, if I press hold, it just gets to the end and stops, which is what you really want it to do. Looping is where it just, like if you got a demo. None, it just sort of ends in a sort of bad way, is what I tend to find. So there you are. That is timelines. They're very powerful, and all these funky little demos you see here like this, they use timelines to showcase the various things. And there is the manual as well for one last time. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed that little video and that little overview of timelines. Thank you very much for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and see you online soon, and goodbye.